beautiful greeting, our adult choir. Yes. Yes, yes. Well, good morning and welcome to All Souls, where we love beyond belief. Now, here at the Point, agnostics, atheists, humanists, and all kinds of seekers gather in community. No matter what you believe or don't believe, or where you come from, you are welcome here and you are loved. I'm Assistant Minister Randy Lewis, and I'm joined on the chancel today by our Senior Minister, Reverend Dr. Marlin Lavanhar, and we're both so excited to be with you in service this morning. And welcome to those who've joined us online, watching from all over the world. We're so glad that you've decided to join us today. Please consider staying for our coffee hour conversations immediately after the service. Now, if you're a first-time guest with us or new to All Souls, we'd like to welcome you for joining us today. And our ushers have a special gift for you. So if you'll raise your hand and just keep your hands up until the ushers place that gift in your hand, we appreciate it. Thank you. And we also would like to invite you for a special meet and greet immediately after the service. One of our Welcome Souls team members will meet you in the Sonnen Library, which is outside the sanctuary doors there to the left. Thank you. And now, if you would join us in saying our covenant that's printed in your order of service. Love is the spirit of this church, and service is its law. This is our great covenant, to dwell together in peace, to seek the truth in love, and to help one another. Yes. Our chalice is lit today by child care coordinator and cook Paula Vella and her husband, David Parker, who is a longtime member of the adult choir and Spirit Song, which is our hospice choir. Now, and they both have raised their adult son, Nicholas, here at All Souls, and we're so proud to have them as leaders in our community. So we welcome Paula and David.
May the flame of our chalice remind us of the beauty in difference and the strength of unity.
Let us celebrate the diversity of the human spirit while holding fast to what binds us together. May this light guide us toward deeper understanding, compassion, and love for all who share this world.
Our time for all ages today is Why Not? A story about discovering our possibilities by Kobe Yamada, and illustrated by Gabrielle Baroche. This is it. This is your rare and wonderful life. It is the greatest gift you will ever receive. Everything you want and everything you dream of is waiting. You have a vast treasure of talents and potential hidden inside you. And your life is ready for you to discover it all. Why not find out how remarkable your life can be? Why not make the most of every moment? You were born for wonder and awe. You are here to marvel at the beauty of this world and to experience the joy of being alive. Be a stranger to the ordinary. Get to know the unknown. Why not try something you've never tried before? Why not go somewhere you've never gone before? Stay curious. Have adventures. Make room for what you love. Discover the world's wonders and know that you are one of them too. So much of life depends on how you look at things, how you see yourself. You are shaped by the choices you make. How will you answer? When today asks what you learned from yesterday, why not see how good your best can be? Why not make the most of your life? Things won't always go according to plan. The way might be difficult. You may get worn out and tired. You may feel lost. You may want to turn back. But know that every step moves you a little closer to where you want to go, if you have the courage to take it. Embrace it all, even the messy parts, especially the messy parts. And don't be fooled by fear. It has a way of shrinking possibilities and diminishing dreams. Have faith. Keep going. You can be the difference. You are made of sunrises and second chances. You are the hope of a brand new day. Even if the odds are 1,000,000 to 1, why not be the one? Don't wait for things to be great, to be grateful. Paying attention is an act of love. Noticing is caring. Beauty is all around and in everything. It just needs you to recognize it. Why not look for the good in everyone and in everything? Open your heart. Take it all in. This is your everywhere. This is your home. You are connected to everything, and everything is connected to you. Every little bit of good helps. Every act of kindness builds. Every bit of compassion heals. Everything you have ever loved becomes a part of you. It all counts. Why not leave this world a little bit better than you found it? How will you leave this world a better place? I invite our children and youth to come to Sunday school to discuss this very question.
Paying attention is an act of love. Yes, indeed. Today we honor the mystery and complexity of life. We acknowledge that life is never static and that change is the only permanent thing that we are faced with. But we feel thankful that we do not have to traverse this path of life alone. We have this blessed community to share our lives' transitions, both joyful and painful. So today we offer condolences to the family of longtime member Emily Wood, who passed away Thursday. And we offer condolences to the family of long-term member Bill Wilkinson, who died September 22nd. We hold space and offer condolences to Berkeley and Caleb Schaus on the loss of Berkeley's brother-in-law, Travis Jarrett Stites, who passed away last week. And we hold space for Susan Swadek as she recovers from her ongoing health challenges. And we want to congratulate our own youth director, Corey Smith, who became a grandfather with the birth of his grandson, Jordy, was born on Thursday. And For our Jewish siblings, we acknowledge that Rosh Hashanah begins Wednesday evening through Friday. And so, may we each find the strength we need in the hour that it is needed the most. And as we enter into a brief moment of silence, let us continue to hold each other in our thoughts and intentions.
Sing this in Spanish. The Spanish says, tengo sed de ti. O fuente del amor, tengo sed de ti. Tu amor es libertad. The translation is, I thirst for you. I yearn for you, O fountain of love. Tengo sed de ti, O fuente del amor. Tu amor es libertad. Your love is freedom. Tengo sed de ti, oh fuente del amor. Tengo sed de ti. Tu amor es libertad.
Beautiful.
So in science class, we all learned that we have a genus. It's a classification. It tells what group we're in. We're all humans or Homo sapiens. That's our genus. It's what's the same about all of us. But our genius is what makes us different. Our genius is the unique spirit that dwells in each person. We all have our own combination of talents and skills and style that make us unlike anyone else. Now, we've gotten it confused in our culture. We think that genius refers only to people who score at the top 2% of the standardized IQ test. But genius is much more than that. It is a spirit that's alive and unique within each person. Everyone has their own genius. We are each a one-of-a-kind, never-to-be-repeated human being. Standardized education and mass culture are ways that try to homogenize us to be just like everyone else, to read the same things, to have the same haircut and handbag, and to try to fit in with the crowd. But as Shakespeare wrote, all the world is a stage. And we come onto that stage not to be like every other actor that's on the stage, but to play our special part. This month, our theme has been calling or vocation. It's about discovering our genius. Now, last weekend, I was supposed to be in Washington, D.C. to speak at the funeral for one of my most important mentors in ministry. Unfortunately, I had COVID, so I couldn't go. His name was Reverend Ken McLean. We all need people in our life who see in us our talent and our abilities that we can't even see in ourselves. It's been said that what we want in a mentor is someone who truly cares for you and who will look after your interests and not just their own. And it's said that when you come across the right person to mentor you, you want to start showing them that the time that they spend with you is worthwhile. When I met Ken, he was 70 years old. He had just retired from a very successful ministry in one of our largest churches in the Washington, D.C. area. He had just lost his wife of almost 40 years as they were embarking on a trip to Alaska. He has a son about my age, and I became his intern for 2 years at the headquarters of the Unitarian Universalist Association in Boston while I was in seminary. Now, after working for him for about a whole year, he came into the office one day, and he asked me if I remembered meeting the man who had come by a couple weeks ago who was from England. He then explained, he and I have fallen in love. I think it was the first time anyone came out to me in my life until that point. And I have to tell you, I was not expecting it. Now, of course, coming out to me, a 20-something Unitarian Universalist seminarian, was not particularly threatening to him, I wouldn't think. But coming out to his congregation of 20 years, who watched him and his wife raise their son, now that was something different. Would they be mad? Would they feel betrayed? Would they feel lied to? Might they revoke his status as their minister emeritus, something that meant a great deal to him, an honored relationship with these people who he loved and who had for so long loved him? And now he had to wonder, how would they respond when he revealed a secret that he had been keeping to himself for his entire life? That year, it was 1997, Ken visited his former church, which is called Cedar Lane. It's in Bethesda, Maryland. And upon returning home, back to Boston, he penned the following words to his congregation. During my recent visit to Cedar Lane, as opportunities presented themselves, I found myself telling good friends what I had told my family this summer, that I have fallen in love with a man, and he loves me. There it is. I've said it, what I thought I could never say to Cedar Lane. Perhaps I thought I couldn't trust a whole congregation that much, even Cedar Lane. And when I was with you this time, something made me decide that I could. Many of you will think of Harriet. After all, you knew me all those years as your married minister. Harriet was my good and loyal wife for almost 40 years. We loved each other. And at the end of her life, Harriet felt good about our life together. Some of you will raise the question of honesty. I can only tell you that for a gay man growing up when I did, honesty was a luxury. I could not have been allowed to be a teacher or a minister if I had been honest about my sexual orientation. There were no models for me. I did the best that I could to live out my commitments. Now, a new phase of my life is beginning. For the blessing of a new love and the support of family and friends, I have only gratitude. I have to keep reminding myself that I'm the same person. Thank you for letting me share. And he sent the letter to his congregation and waited to see how they would respond. And blessing of blessings, the church responded with open arms and open hearts, and they continued to care for one another for 27 more years until he died just recently. Now, without going into a lot of detail, I think it's important that you know that he was one of the most distinguished ministers in our tradition of his generation. Reverend Ken McLean helped to lead and in some cases form a number of the most critical organizations within this tradition of ours. He helped to establish the International Council of Unitarians and Universalists, bringing together churches and folks from all over the world, India and Sri Lanka and Africa and all around the world. He created the senior ministers of large Unitarian Universalist churches group. He created something called the Office of Church Staff Financing to help ministers and retired ministers and their spouses and widows and widowers to be able to get through financially. He did more to advance the credentialing of religious educators like Shannon Boston, who told our story earlier, than any other ordained minister in our tradition. And he served on the Unitarian Universalist Association Board, the Unitarian Universalist Service Committee Board, the Unitarian Universalist Ministers Association. It's hard to imagine Unitarian Universalism as we know it today if he had not become one of our ministers. Now, yet despite all this institution building that he did and his service to the wider association, ask anyone who knows Ken McLean, and they will tell you that he was an incredibly pastoral presence in times of crisis. The most poignant moments of his ministry will not be recorded anywhere. The late night calls, the prayers, the hugs, the hands that he held, some hands trembling with fear, some cold with impending death, all made warm by his touch. I know about this personally because Ken held my hand and my wife's on our wedding day when they were pulsing with expectation. And then years later, he flew across the country with a broken neck. His entire upper body was encased in a hard plastic cast. He was almost 80 years old. And when he should have been home convalescing, he was hopping on airplanes so that his hands could hold our hands again after the unexpected death of our daughter. When we most needed his kind of presence. In fact, he led the interment ceremony when we spread her ashes around the tree that's right behind me through this window. But perhaps the biggest thing, most important thing he did for me was that he believed in me. He shared his experience of life and ministry and marriage with me. And he told me, he said, you can be a really good minister. Now, whenever we set off on a career or some new endeavor, we are never quite sure if we're going to succeed. If you go to art school or med school or decide to train to become a truck driver or to join the Air Force because you want to fly airplanes, if you've ever dared to try to achieve a life goal, you know the insecurity of taking the first step and saying, hey, I think I can do this. I want to do this. And we know that we could fail. Who am I to think I could be a minister? And having someone who believes in you and sees in you and who will be honest with you It can make all the difference. And in his case, it really did. Sometimes it's just one word that someone says to us, and it can completely change the direction of our life or our sense of who we are. They might just say, you're talented, or you're smart, you're creative, oh, you're a natural, you have what it takes, or I'm proud of you. These words can send someone's life like a rocket ship in the direction of our destiny. I remember when my mom told me, years ago, I was 19 years old, and she told me that she thought I'd make a good Unitarian Universalist minister. And little did she know the kind of crazy stuff I was involved in back then, which I won't go into right now. But, I thought she planted a seed in my mind. It wasn't something I'd ever thought about before. It wasn't on my bingo card, as we say. But her saying that, it planted a seed. Having a vision of our future can save our life. I have never forgotten the story of Viktor Frankl, who was Jewish. He was in a concentration camp during World War II. And at one point near the end of the war, the Nazis were moving them from the camps, and it required a forced march through the ice and the snow. None of them had eaten very much. They were all emaciated. And at one point, Frankl felt like he wasn't going to make it. And he slipped on the ice and he fell. And there he was, lying on the ground, and he realized he had no energy to lift himself back up. And a German soldier came over and he started yelling at him and hitting him with the butt of his rifle and telling him to get up. If you don't get up, you're going to be shot. And left dead right here. And he had no energy, and he had very little will to live at that point. But then he saw in his mind's eye himself a few years later at a conference in Europe telling the story of what was happening to him right then. And there was something in that vision of the future that gave him enough energy to get up and to keep walking. And he first told that story a few years later at a conference in Europe. Having a vision for ourselves and the future can save our life. Because so much in life tries to destroy or deny a person's genius, person's unique sense of self. My mentor, Ken, he grew up when a person, being who he was said to be shameful and bad and something to hide or try to get rid of. So he and so many others had to hide this important part of themselves in order to live their calling of what they loved to do in the world and were good at. Viktor Frankl reminds us of how the Nazis tried to deny Jews their humanity and their very lives. It's a long list of ways that we can have our unique spirit dampened or snuffed out by this culture or by the world or by life events. And yet, there have been people over and over again who have given a vision of a different way of being in society. Whether it was the women who stood up in Seneca Falls and said, what do you mean? Women can vote and do anything that men can do. Or those who stood up at Stonewall and said, being gay is, we shouldn't be arrested, we shouldn't have to hide or be shamed because of that. And there are so many stories of times when people shared something that then gave people a new vision of how to be humanity. I was talking in the last service about the story, the parable that comes from the scriptures, and I share it here in the humanist service only because it's a humanist story. It's not a story about anything supernatural. It's the story of when if you know it, the adulterous woman in the temple. It's a story of when this woman was caught in adultery. And back then, the culture was that if a woman was caught in adultery, you stone her to death. So the people had surrounded her with stones, and they were gonna do what they thought good people were supposed to do in such situations. And they were about to stone this woman. And at that time, as the parable goes, Jesus stood up next to her and he said, "Oh, wait a minute, y'all." He probably didn't say y'all, but if he were in Oklahoma, he would have said that. And he said, "How about this? How about the one out there who has not done anything wrong, who's never sinned in some way or done something that you're not proud of, made a mistake? Why don't you go ahead and throw the first stone?" And the people looked around, and eventually, one by one, they dropped their stones and walked away. And when it was just him and her, he looked at her and said, "You are forgiven. Go and sin no more." And he, with that one story, gave us a vision of a world where we can give each other a second chance, where we can look at one another and know, hey, I know you're having a tough time. You've done something, and I know I've made mistakes. How can we love each other and create a community where people, yes, for our children especially, can create a community? It's can I see myself in somebody else? Can I see my troubles in their troubles? Can I see my humanity in their humanity? And I think of my mentor, Ken, who was so talented, clearly called to being a minister. He was a teacher before, and then he became a minister and a father. And yet, someone of his sexual orientation would not be allowed to do any of those things if they were honest in the culture at that time. So he, like so many others, had to try to adjust to a maladjusted world while also finding ways to quietly try to change it. But what I hope for this community, All Souls, is that together, this community that we are together creating every week, every time we get together, we in each generation and each year, we're creating this community. We make it what it is. And I want it to be a place where people can mentor and be mentored, a place where people can see and be seen, a place where we can be honest about who we are and be fully accepted, a place where nobody throws stones and everyone can live their unique genius. And so this is what I want to charge you to do in the coming days or the coming weeks. If you have someone in your life who is still alive, who helped you to see yourself and to become who you are, I want you to write them a letter or give them a phone call or take them out for coffee and share with them how important they are to you and what they did for you. And alternatively, or in addition, I want you to think of how you're expressing your genius. Are you dampening or holding back some of your uniqueness, your creativity, your beauty, what makes you different from me and everybody else? Because if you don't share who you are, the rest of us miss out. The world misses out. There will never, ever again be anybody like you. And you came into the world in your unique way, and if you don't share it, it'll never be known. So let's all take the opportunities we have not only to live our truth, but also to share what we see, the genius in others, and encourage that in one another. Let's take every opportunity we can to speak authentic words into each other's lives, encouraging words. You might just change somebody's life forever. And you might just change the impact of your own. I love you. I love your genius. I love what we do here every week, every time we gather together. Let us continue to do so with great gratitude for the blessing of being alive. The whole world is a stage. We all come onto it at some point, and we're all going to exit at some. We never know when. So let us live the life and the truth that is uniquely ours right now. Thank you.
Wake now. Wake now. Wake now, your vision of ministry clear. Brighten your pathway of radiance here. Mingle your calling with all who will share. Work toward a planet transformed by our care. Wake now, your vision of ministry clear. Brighten your pathway with radiance here. Mingle your calling with all who will share. Work toward a planet transformed by your care.
Beautiful, beautiful. Thank you, Rick. Beautiful. Look at you, Rick Fortner. Talk about a guy living his talent and skill and uniqueness in the world. Wow. And blessing us with it. Thank you so much. So, I couldn't help but watch, as you were signing the songs, especially. I love seeing that. And I wanted to ask you if I could, it's sort of impromptu, but do you speak Spanish? Is that why you switched so that you could do the Spanish language? Yes, that's why. Okay, interesting. So translating from Spanish to sign language. Anyway, I didn't tell you all this, but we are, our collection today, we give away our offering plate every week to causes that are important to us. And this week, we decided, it's being the fifth Sunday in the month and everything, and these sign language interpreters have just been volunteering their time to help us. One thing that we've learned recently is that in the deaf community of Tulsa and all over the world is just like every other community, and there's folks who are free thinkers and humanists and atheists and agnostics and people who are gay and lesbian and transgender and all of those things, and they're looking for churches too, but the only churches doing sign language interpretation are ones who are not real friendly or welcoming to those who might be a little different, have their own unique genius to share. So they wanted us to be able to offer that, and more people have been coming. We've seen families, children, people of all ages. In fact, I was online last Sunday on Zoom because I was homesick, and one of the young people put in the chat, it was Daniel, who I think has been here before. He's like, I'm in Utah. Thank you so much for having the sign language interpretation for the service. And he watched the service with us, and he was chatting in the chat at the same time. So it's a great program, and we want to be able to build on it. And so our offering today, everything you give is going to go to us building our program for the deaf community so that we can invite folks in and support them in their lives and their ministries and whatever they're doing with their lives. So please give generously in just a moment when the offering basket's going to come around. And know that if you're writing a check, just to clarify, put offering in the memo so we make sure it goes where it needs to go. Because some people also put their pledge. People pledge to support, keep the lights on here and everything, and keep the pianos tuned and all that. And so if you're doing that, if you're writing a check to All Souls, put church in the memo so we know that to get it to the church. Anyway, a couple quick announcements before the offering. If you're visiting, if you're here for the first time or you're fairly new and want to learn more about All Souls, in the library just out to the left after the service, it's just out this door to the left, we have some refreshments for you, someone to greet you, and one of our ministers will come in and answer questions that you might have. We look forward to welcoming you. If you're ready to join All Souls, maybe you've been coming for a while and you're like, I want to be part of this. This is so cool. We'd love to welcome you at 12:45. So in about 25 minutes or half an hour upstairs, we'll have in room 203. And just so go grab some coffee, get some refreshments, peruse the bookstore, in Emerson Hall, and then come on up. And we look forward to welcoming you as new members of All Souls today. Or if you just want to learn about it, you're not sure you want to join, but you're thinking about it, come on up and find out more. Wednesday night, October 2nd, we have a rescheduled program on education about banned books and censorship, something that's really I'm passionate about, trying to bring our voice to the public square around these issues of Bibles in schools and all of that. So that's going to be at 7 o'clock this Wednesday. And lastly, the Pride Parade was moved from June to October 13th. So we're going to have a float. We'd love to have you march along with us and show a big presence from All Souls in the Pride Parade again this year. And it's going to be Sunday the 13th at 4 o'clock. So come on out. You can even get a T-shirt now with All Souls on it if you want to, and walk with us. Anyway, at this time, let us now receive our offering.
As we share what we have with each other, let us sing out joyfully. May abundance lead to gratitude and to generosity. As we share what we have with each other, let us sing out joyfully. May abundance lead to gratitude, then to generosity. As we share what we have with each other, let us sing out joyfully. May abundance lead to gratitude, then to generosity.
Thank you. Can we hear it for Jack and Danielle, our sign language? They're siblings, and they are awesome. And now we're going to get you some support, too, so we can keep building on this. So thank you all so much for everything you've done. As you go forth into this day, I want you to remember your charge. to reach out, to see one another, to lift up with kind words and encourage each other and the people in your life, to give thanks for those who've spoken into your life, and most of all, to live your creative spirit however it's meant to be lived in the world. If it's grumpy, let it be grumpy. If it's happy, let it be happy. If it's funny, let it be funny. If it's colorful, let it be colorful. But be you, because the world needs, especially now more than ever, people who are coming alive and being fully alive. That's what we need more than anything right now. Go, and may your eyes see beauty, may your lips speak truth, may your heart know love, and may your hands do the good works of this world all the days of your life. And until we meet again, go and be loved and be loving. Thank you.